It is hard. Started on Paul.
Where are you from again?
Marietta, Georgia.
Okay.
Run for Team Associated, Reedy, Jconcepts, Ultimate Engines, Beach RC, Stick It One Racing, Off the Grid Designs, and Pilot RC.
Okay. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was great. You know, had a lot of fun. Really enjoy coming here. Layout's super unique this year. Honestly, one of the best 10-scale layouts I think I've ever driven on. Had just awesome flow. It was very playful. A lot of unique features, a lot of good character to the track you had to be on top of. And Team Associated vehicles working great all weekend. Jconcepts tires, silver compound. Got to run some of those new Smoothie 2s on my 2-wheel and 4-wheel.
Are they even out yet?
They will be out. They should be this coming week.
Okay. What foams come with them?
So they come with a standard Dirt Tech foam, but they do offer that RM2 foam, which is a harder foam. A lot of the drivers in these situations prefer to run those on the front of the car. A lot of times, a thing that we have done in the past is glued the sidewall of the front wheel or front tire, and that kind of helps with that edginess of the car. But this harder front foam is kind of a new way of going about that, of keeping so the tire, when you go through the sauce after a while, the sauce kind of seeps into the foam and softens up the foam and will make it bite in a little bit harder. So if you start with a harder foam, it should help with that problem.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Have you ever seen one of my videos?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we go, how I do this
Okay.
is I start up front and then I go to the back.
Uh-huh.
We're going to start with Shackles and Pistons.
Okay. All right.
What,
So I went a little different than what's been commonly used on the short course. So I ended up going one hole smaller on all my pistons. So in the front, I'm on a 1.5 with 32.5, and I've got blue springs on the front. You may see that there's a sway bar there, but I have it disconnected. So instead of going through the whole process of pulling it off the car, I just unhooked the link. So that was a big thing I did for this weekend. Is I normally most of the team runs the sway bars on the cars, and on both my stadium truck and my short course this weekend, I took the sway bar off, and it really made the drivability of the car a lot better. The reason I went to the smaller hole pistons is I just feel like the car just didn't jump very good, and with the extra pack with the smaller holes, it really just made the car a lot more predictable in its jumping and its landing, and I'm really stoked on that. So.
Okay. What pistons did you have in the back?
So the back is a 1/6 with 27.5 weight, and that's a white spring on the back. And again, no sway bar. It is there, but it's unhooked.
So you have no sway bars on this one?
Nope.
What was your reason for unhooking the back one?
Honestly, I haven't been running the back one for a little bit. It keeps the car really flat, but I think it just makes the car react more. One of the things I've learned about short courses is the car needs to roll. Rolling on high grip makes the car, as weird as it sounds, not want to flip over. If you keep the car too rigid, it resists the idea of the car rolling, and then makes it bite harder and will make it bicycle and flip easier. So when you have those on there, it's really fighting that issue of the car rolling, and it can make it want to tip more. It'll give that flat feeling, but if it does bite, it'll flip over quicker.
Okay. Pills.
Pills, so I am on the C block, I am 1 out, and I'm 0.5 down and out in the back. So it's a wider pivot, and in turn, instead of the standard 8.5 hexes, I have 6mm hexes on the back.
Okay.
So it narrows the back up. Once you go wider, a little bit wider in the pivot, a wider pivot helps make the car corner a little bit better. And so you just narrow the track back up with the hexes.
Okay. Is there any tricks or tips that you do personally to your cars when you're building them that like the general public don't know about?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of hard to answer that. Like when you build a car after, all of our 6 Series kits are very similar. So as you go through them, there's just little things that you do to just make it easier. Like for instance, little tips I do, like whenever I build my tie rods, I always run a screw into them first. So you stick like a black grease in there, and then just take a screw and run it all the way down and run it all the way out. And then what that'll do is that'll help, like if you put a fresh turnbuckle on, if you just screw it, a lot of times it's really sticky. And so when you go to make an adjustment, it'll pop the ball cup off while you're turning it. So if you run a screw in there first, feel that it helps make it for a smoother adjustment process. And then, you know, really the shocks are a big thing. You want to make sure when you're bleeding your shocks, you know, you take your time with that. Shocks obviously are a very important part of the car. And so I just take my time when I'm putting in there. I use the green slime the Team Associated sells for the O-rings, and that just helps when you are sticking that shock shaft through for the first time. If you send it through dry, you have the chance that you can kind of scorch that plastic on there, and it can just damage them instantly, which would cause for it not to maybe leak or whatever else, just not flow as well. So, and then also when you bleed them, you know, you always just got to make sure that you got we try to go for a dead shock, so no rebound. So basically, one of the tips someone had taught me a long time ago is with the bleed screw in there, when you are bleeding it, before you stick that screw back in, I take a rag and I wipe that hole out and get as much out of there as possible, because if you think about it, if there's oil bubbling out of there and you screw that screw in, you're pushing more oil back in, which just that little bit will create more pressure in the shock. So I try to make sure I get all of that out of there, so it's super clean before I put that screw back in. So that's something, you know, another racer friend of mine had taught me, and it's just something that stuck with me when I build my shocks.
Do you use a shock pump when you build?
I don't. I have one, and I did for a little while, but, you know, I know several racers like them. I've talked to other racers that don't like to use them, but no, I don't really use one anymore.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you, Chris.
No problem.
And congratulations on your win there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course, I got some footage of it.
Awesome.
But thank you. What's your next big race?
Actually, next weekend, Mr. Sean Harding at the Hobbytown Columbus in Georgia is having his big shootout race. It's a $1,000 purse to the Pro Mod Buggy winner, and I'll be there next Saturday for that race.
You're racing short course too, right?
I'm going to bring a short course, and just for fun, many people may know that I am really big on vintage cars.
Right.
So I am bringing out an SC10 to race short course with. Okay. So just want to have some fun with some friends, and so I have a nice SC10.2 that I'm going to bring out that I have an old body of mine for, and I'm going to run that.
So if they see anybody at the track, and they want to come up, ask questions about, you know,
yeah, anything, by all means. If you have any questions, you ever see me, by all means, I love it. I've been doing this since I was 9 years old, and really that's kind of my thing, is just to give back right now. Any kind of help I can offer, I'm willing to do it. You know, it's more important to make sure everyone else is having fun and enjoying this hobby I've been in for 20 plus years.
Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
Thank you.